Before I begin, I'd like to explain that this show was originally done in London, England in 1997. And when I originally wrote the book, I wrote it in the third person, so that it was in a mythological format. There was the man, the other woman, and the dog. And the musical director at the theater suggested that I do it in the first person. And it's much more personable, and I liked it better. But some of the dialogue doesn't really lend itself to that. So sometimes you'll hear me refer to myself as the woman, or she did this. But it is about me. This is a totally true story. And the poetry in it, or whatever it is that I attribute to anybody, particularly the man, he really wrote. And I appreciate him for letting me use his poetry. This is a story about a woman and a man. More accurately put, this is a story about a woman and her perception of a man. They didn't live here on planet Earth. People swore they did because they saw their bodies, knew a little bit about their histories, and had names to call them. But the truth is they didn't live here. They lived in a world as close as breathing, yet far, far away. Or maybe it was deep, deep within, even farther and deeper than the world of Harlequin romance. The man lived in a cave, as men like to do, and rarely ventured out into the world. So women often sat at the door of his cave, as women like to do, and waited for him to come out. He would appear from time to time, and they would have moments of hope. But then he'd return to the deep recesses of his cave, and they would wait, hoping. In the currently popular, politically correct, gender-switching way of the 90s, the woman was a spiritual warrior. She did not need a man to slay dragons for her, though the occasional tire change was quite helpful. You see, she appeared to be an ordinary woman, but she was as solid as a ray of light. In a flash, she could disappear, because in reality she was only on loan from the cosmos. Then one day, the man and woman received an invitation. It was a gathering of light beings and cave dwellers from everywhere in the universe. Finally, the man and woman saw each other. Without doubt, she recognized him, and he knew her instantly. The man was surprised and delighted that he could feel so happy and free outside of his cave, and the woman realized she didn't want to disappear. She also knew she didn't want to sleep indoors on a bed. So the man and woman wandered through the forest, looking for the perfect place for her heart and soul to rest. As they walked, their words had music, the land held magic, and the man realized he too had been looking for a place where his heart and soul could rest. He didn't quite know how to express his feelings, so he just said, "Indoors is so hot and stuffy. I'd love to camp out. Maybe I'll come find you." Fortunately, I had read Winnie the Pooh as a child, and the man's statement seemed very similar to the way Pooh often asked Piglet for honey. So I smiled, knowing there was plenty of honey, and said, "You're welcome to join me." We found the perfect place on the bank of a frozen river. The ice was thin, and not too far away, we could hear the river singing. We set up a little blue tent and stuffed many items of comfort into it until we knew we'd be warm and cozy, no matter what life had to offer. We nestled under sleeping bags and a down comforter, and then we kissed. It wasn't meant to be more than a kiss, but as kisses go, it was the type of kiss that went right down to my toes. The kiss moved through my fingers and into my soul. The point of no return was quickly approaching. The man was unsure of the appropriateness of his love, for waiting back at the cave was the other woman. He had some explaining to do. I had some concerns of my own. You see, I knew how to make love and how to share it with a man in a way that was quite magical. Somehow I had memories of being a priestess. I remembered temples and initiations. My friends kept telling me to read The Sacred Prostitute. It was on my things-to-do list. Men experienced love they'd never dreamed of. They felt this love wash through their hearts and souls. Every cell of their being celebrated life. They had visions, glimpses of eternity, geometrical shapes and colors flowed through their minds. Sometimes they'd float, weightless and formless. But then the men would become afraid, because the woman took them to places they'd never seen before. They were afraid they could never get back by themselves. And what if she left them in this open, vulnerable place? How much pain would there be? So the men would either try to possess the woman, or they would leave.
Just slip out the back, Jack. Make a new plan, Stan. You don't need to be coy, Roy. You just get yourself free. Just hop on the bus, 'cause you don't need to discuss much. Just drop off a Keeley and get yourself free.
I explained this to the man, but he instinctively knew that with me there was no time like the present, and he asked if I would show him the way. First, I explained that there were certain government-approved protective devices that utterly stopped the flow of energy between a man and a woman. He explained that he already knew nothing happens by accident, and if something is meant to come to you, it will, no matter what barriers one may erect. And in the same way, if it's not yours to experience, you won't, no matter what you've been exposed to. Note, to any young listeners in the audience, regardless of age, if you understand what I just said, please do not try this at home. Not using government-approved protective devices is considered politically and socially incorrect. Even a little bit of fear in this area can set in motion flying shreds of karma. I realized the man was tuned into the same cosmic channel, so we embarked on the journey together. The journey began with a song. All of me, why not take all of me? Oh, can't you see? I'm no good without you. Take my arms, I want to lose them. Oh, take my lips, I'll never use them. Your goodbye would leave me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Oh, why not take all of me? As I made love with the man, there was another song singing in my heart, and every cell in my being sang and danced in unison. The song. This is it, tra-la-la, tra-la-la. I have met my soul's companion, my eternal consort, yippee-skippy true love at last. It took the universe long enough, but that's okay, there's only this moment anyway, tra-la-la, tra-la-la. The silent chorus. I don't know you well enough to know who thou truly art. I'll just project who I want you to be, and you do your best to play the part. Fortunately for the woman, the chorus part is a silent one and fairly easy to ignore, especially when the song is being sung with gusto. As with any good myth, reality soon set in. The man thought it was time to mention the other woman. He said their relationship was almost over because, among other things, she was quite young. Nothing illegal, but she had no memory of the Beatles, Gilligan's Island, the day we landed on the moon. Vietnam was totally out of the question. 2001, a date in the future. She didn't remember the Mamas and the Papas, Archie and Edith, Ozzie and Harriet, but then again, Bill and Hillary didn't ring any bells either. Since the woman was a cosmic traveler and not likely to stick around without good reason, the man said he'd break up as soon as he returned home and invited the woman to stay with him. This didn't sound like a great scenario. However, the song was still playing loudly. though the silent chorus had become more of a haunting refrain that repeats and repeats in the brain. Though he appeared to be slightly ill, he said he was just transmuting something. But all the same, he stayed in bed in his dark cave. Under the circumstances, the man didn't quite get around to breaking the news to his soon-to-be ex-girlfriend. This is called foreshadowing, not to be confused with foreplay. So when I came home the next day, early and unexpectedly, I walked into the man's dark cave. No kidding, in the basement, no windows. And just a little aside here, this guy was 43, never been married, his mom's house. Okay. I sweetly whispered, "How are you feeling?" There was no reply. But then I realized I could hear voices in the dark. There was a young woman's voice, and the sounds were coming from the man's bed. I wasn't jealous. I didn't believe in jealousy. But as I headed to the door, I remembered a story. It was about a Chinese peasant girl who got pregnant. This was a terrible dishonor. So she lied and said that the old monk who lived on the hill had forced himself upon her. When she gave birth, the outraged villagers took the baby to the monk and told him it was his responsibility to raise the baby. The monk simply said, "Ah, I see," and graciously took the child. Several years went by, and on her deathbed, the woman confessed the truth. The villagers returned to the monk, apologized, and said they were taking the child back. The monk said, "Ah, I see," and released the child. The man said, "Wait, come back. I want you to meet the other woman." I thought, "Ah, I see."
I'll walk along the lake with someone new, have myself a summer fling or two. Just remember I'm in love with you, so save your heart for me. When the autumn winds begin to blow and the summertime is long ago, you'll be in my arms again, I know, so save your heart for me. Please remember I'm in love with you, so save your heart for me. Darling, save your heart for me.
After a few polite moments in the dark, I went upstairs to take a bath. The day was sunshiny and beautiful. I bathed, reading a book in the tub as always. Then came a knock on the door. The man asked me to come out and meet the other woman. I said, "Could you open the door so I can talk to you?" The door opened. There stood the man, as the father he could have been, holding the tiny woman-child in his arms. She barely appeared full-grown. He said, smiling, "She wants you to heal her." I thought, "Ah, I see." Apparently, the man had a theory about women and jealousy and how there should be peace in the world and peace between women. It was an interesting concept. I thought maybe I should have finished reading Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Or maybe I could write a book called Men Are Dogs, Women Are Cats, just to explain the territorial aspects at hand. I thought this might be a good time to practice deep breathing. At first I thought, this is a test, it is only a test. But since I was quite naked in the tub, still being observed from the doorway, I did a slight revision and thought, this is a breast, it is only a breast. I then smiled and said, "If you'll close the door, I'll be right out." When I entered the cave, the man and woman-child were lying on the bed, but at least this time there were candles. I was used to life's trials and tests, but it seemed that somehow I'd never received a textbook on this one. I searched every mental databank on the subject, How to heal your man's soon-to-be ex-girlfriend of jealousy, resentment, anger, and a lifetime of unresolved issues in 20 minutes or less. It was hard to believe that I had left my home planet without this CD-ROM fully installed, but then again, I'd forgotten my toothbrush. I was all alone in uncharted territory. I breezed through the test with flying colors, but there was one minor detail. The woman-child kept coming over all the time.
Hey there, little Red Riding Hood. You sure are looking good. You're everything a big bad wolf could want. Oh.
She came for lunch,
Little Red Riding Hood.
dropped by after work,
I don't think little big girl should.
came back to walk the
Go
dog.
walking in these spooky old woods alone.
More on the dog later. It was endless.
What big eyes you have.
She was happy.
Kind of eyes that drive wolves
She was sad.
You're everything a big
She spent
bad
hours
wolf
reading her
would want.
journal out loud to the man.
What full lips you have.
She'd sit in the
Kind of
house,
lips that drive
waiting for us
wolves
to come
mad.
home.
I'm gonna keep my sheep suit on.
I just stayed out of it. I did have an opinion or two,
Little Red Riding Hood.
especially on the
You
point
sure are
of the
looking
woman-child
good.
and the
You're
man
everything
lying
a
in
big
bed
bad wolf
in the
could
dark
want.
to talk.
Oh, I mean bad.
It was understandable the first time, when he was transmuting and she didn't know she was the soon-to-be ex-girlfriend. So I firmly stated this man's bed was now my bed too, and though I still wasn't jealous, the woman-child in my bed was energetically incorrect. This brought up a thing or two for the man. It had always been his bed, and though his only consistent choice of bed partners was the dog, he really wasn't too keen on me claiming his territory. He mentioned that I was controlling, which I conceded was true, and impatient, true again. But then I had to ponder, what exactly was the nature of our relationship? Surely this was psychoanalytical paradise. I remembered only days earlier, the man spoke the most loving words and tenderly touched me whenever he was near. It had seemed to me that this man could see my heart and soul, or at least that's what I wanted to believe. I see you, but it's as if I've never seen you. We're together, but I don't know where you are. And I touch you, but I cannot touch your heart. When I'm with you, it seems we're always far apart. But sometimes in the dark, I can feel your love beside me. You tell me of your fears, then you hold me and you hide me from the world for just a while. And I can't help wishing that you could be there for me, with the tender love you show in the night. And I see this gentleman in the darkness, but he always disappears with the light. I feel your pain, the emptiness you hide. It's sad to think you don't feel my love inside. There's a wall around your heart, and no one can get through. You won't get hurt, but who will ever see you? I've tried to find a way to make you see you've always been a part of me, and everything you thought was safely locked away is in my heart. I feel it every day. But sometimes in the dark, I can feel your love beside me. You tell me of your fears, then you hold me and you hide me from the world for just a while. And I can't help wishing that you could be there for me, with the tender love you show in the night. And I see this gentleman in the darkness, but he always disappears with the light. Then came the second part of the journey, the dance. In the words of one of the ex-girlfriends, in regard to what it's like to date the man, "You'll be fine as long as you remember you will always be second to his dog and his mother," in that order. I wanted to know the nature of our relationship, so I asked the man what he wanted to create. "I don't know, I don't try to create anything," he said. "Do you want a relationship with me?" He shrugged and said, "I have a relationship with you." "Do you want an intimate relationship?" He hedged this one, knowing he'd probably have to concede to my wishes when it came to the territorial bed issue, and said, "We already have an intimate relationship." "All right," I said, getting right to the point. "Do you think you'll ever love me as much as your dog?" Wow. That was a tall order for the man to even contemplate. Of course, he knew the answer. He just didn't know how to get out of the question. So he said, "Well, I don't know. I just met you. My dog and I have been together for 8 years. I'm not kidding. He really said that. "My dog and I have been together for 8 years. I was trying not to be analytical, but the words just popped out of my mouth. "Have you ever been in love?" The man considered this for a moment and finally said, "This is a true story. As far as I know, the only one I have ever been in love with is my dog." The man then shared with me an entry from his journal. It went like this. "Charlie, my constant companion of 8 years, retrieves golden dreams as he warms the foot of my bed. It's not that Charlie isn't the greatest listener I know. It's just that sometimes I feel the need to expand relationships encounter with beings of my own species. Charlie arrived as a Christmas present and into my heart. You've probably seen him playing the part of the puppy in the John Denver Christmas show of '87. Since day one, he's been a star. I don't have a wife, no children to claim, so you can clearly see how spoiled my Charlie must be. I'm always pondering, am I dependent on his mysterious ways of how it is he's come to be dependent on me? Does he need me or do I need him? What game we play creating dependency with the other? I need Charlie to prove to myself I know the meaning of commitment. Unconditional love through thick and thin. I believe he's the lesson of friendship I must learn. I'm in need of all that he's teaching me to be committed." It was a scary thought, and I thought maybe it was time to leave. Though the man had never been a sport fisherman, he seemed to intuitively understand the essence of the sport. Somewhere in his database lurked the Tao of sport fishing. First you bait, which rhymes with date. Don't let them get away if you can help it. Throw out the line, I love you, will usually do, and reel them in as in, I really love you. Once caught, throw them back in. Every fisherman knows that's the sporting way. I had trouble understanding why I felt hooked, and why I kept singing, row, row, row your boat, and what did that part mean, life is but a dream? Who am I anyway? Am I my negligee? That is an outfit of a woman I don't know. What does he want from me? Who should I try to be? Mother Teresa or Marilyn Monroe? I need this man. Oh God, I need him so. There's no dependency like codependency, like no dependency, I know. Every day I wake up with this feeling. I hope and pray that he will love me more. It's just that I'm afraid that I am dealing with that complex called Madonna. But then there were moments of sheer ecstasy, and I decided that whatever it was, a dream, a hook, it didn't bother me that much. In bed, we read, ecstasy is a new frequency, and by golly, it was true. We would meditate, inhale, white light, exhale, rapture. We made love with our imaginations. Everything and everyone came alive. It was so wonderful. Every day a little ecstasy, a little bliss, some rapture on the side. Oy vey, life was good. We made love to the entire universe. It was the mystery school of lovemaking. And I was the living library. I'm no longer doubtful of what I'm living for. If you make me happy, I don't need to feel more. 'Cause you make me feel, you make me feel, you make me feel like a natural woman. A natural woman. Shortly after that, the man had a blissful day with the woman. He was so happy he took me dancing that night and was he romantic. I had never seen him like this. And oh my, how he loved me, even in a public place. Men stared, actually jealous of his good fortune. He decided to rub it in and confided in another fisherman the kind of day he had had. He said, "It began like this, my friend. I got up, and that beautiful woman you've been staring at, she's really a goddess. She gave me a 2-hour massage. It was sheer ecstasy. When it was over, I was a bit chilly. She had already drawn a bath. Candles were lit, and she brought me dinner in the tub." The other fisherman was dumbfounded. Had he not seen this catch for himself, he might have thought it was a tall tale. But seeing is believing, and he said in earnest, "Give that woman a ring. Trust me, just marry her." With a laugh, the man shared the story with the woman. Of course, he knew he didn't have to get married, because there were plenty of other fish in the sea. But still, the woman felt like a goddess. She hoped that maybe she had been so perfect he couldn't bear to throw her back. Instead, he'd keep her and mount her if all went well. The next day, he said, "You know how I was last night?" I smiled and nodded, remembering his embrace, the way he kissed my neck, how he caressed and touched my body, how we slow danced together the way lovers do. Then he said, "It may never happen again, so don't expect it." "I don't understand," I said, forgetting to say, "Ah, I see." Well, you remember how you told me that when you made love there were men that got scared. I know how they felt. He's got those "God, why don't you love me? Oh, you do, I'll see you later" blues. That long as you ignore me, you're the only thing that matters feeling. That if I'm good enough for you, you ain't good enough. And thank you for the present, but what's wrong with it stuff? That don't come any closer, 'cause you know how much I love you feeling. That tell me that you love me, oh you did, I gotta run now blues. He's got those whisper how I'm better than I think, but what do you know blues. That why do you keep telling me I stink when I adore you feeling. That say I'm all the world to you, you're out of your mind. I know there's someone else and I could kiss your behind. That you say I'm terrific, but your taste was always rotten feeling. That tell me that you love me, oh you do, I gotta run now blues. I waited for him to explain and finally said, "Meaning?" Without saying a word, he shrugged his shoulders and did his nice smile. No amount of coaxing could bring about an explanation. Somehow, this induced within me visions of strangling him while singing "Up Against the Wall, You Redneck Mother." But that seemed so utterly un-New Age, I felt like a spiritual Neanderthal and banished the thought from my mind. Life is but a dream. Late that afternoon, the woman-child, armed with Valentine's Day gifts, dropped by to make amends. There were gifts for both the man and the woman, candles for him, and a pair of satin-flowered underwear for me. I was stunned. Of course, the man hadn't exactly stopped off at Victoria's Secret. Not that anyone else ever had. It just seemed odd to have my first pair of gifted undies be from a woman, let alone the ex-no-escape girlfriend. I began to understand the essence of the term cosmic joke. The man couldn't understand my resistance to the woman-child. He said, "You know, she really likes you. In fact, she thinks of you as her mother." I shrugged, did my nice smile I learned from the man, and said, "Ah, I see." I held my breath, hoping to get past Valentine's Day. Besides, I'd been preparing a present for him, no sense spoiling the day. I bought a blank book, and for 2 days I cut and pasted beautiful pictures, created lovely poetry, and gave it to the man for Valentine's Day. It was a mini masterpiece, something to be kept, forever cherished. I handed the book to the man and kissed him. Was it too much to hope that he might forever cherish me? In his usual passive way, the man thanked me and gave me a little kiss. I was dismissed, obviously just another book to add to the collection. I no longer felt like the catch of the day. I'd gone from goddess to guppy in a matter of moments. But I knew if I floated belly up, he might just flush. Note: the woman is a Gemini rooster. In a book called The New Astrology, it says, quote, "Their strongest card is resilience. The Gemini rooster is a walking trampoline. Nothing, not illness, not rejection, not sorrow or self-pity can keep this good woman down. No matter how many times Lady Luck hurts and deserts, the Gemini rooster will rise again." So I went up to my room and wrote a song followed by therapeutic poetry. How can you want to make love to me when you don't really love me in your heart? You say that you want to be close to me, but you know we'll just be further apart. And I can't bear to see you in the morning light without any love in your eyes. I don't want to search for your love while you're covering the lies. As I stand and see myself in the mirror, I realize I'm always alone. There's no one outside to give me love. The love that I need is my own. And we're just looking to fill the emptiness, the love we thought was lost long ago. We keep looking to find it in someone new, but there's something we just don't know. And I can't bear to see you in the morning light without any love in your eyes. I don't want to search for your love while you're covering the lies. As I stand and see myself in the mirror, I realize I'm always alone. There's no one outside to give me love. The love that I need is my own. The love that I need is my own. Tonight I saw you as my mirror. I struggled with the image. You were loving but not fully present. I wanted to touch your heart, but I couldn't. Just as I thought my heart was opening, I'm being asked to risk everything. The child within me cries, I don't want this lesson. Love is painful. I don't want to learn any more about love. Yet in the pain of a heart struggling to open, yearning to love, there is a place of stillness. I close my eyes and breathe love. Held in this sacred embrace, I feel extraordinary, a beautiful ray of light unlike any other God created, tenderly loved. My pain is not from love. It is my buried past, which I have tightly wrapped around myself, a tattered cloak of illusions. It says, you're not worthy of love, but I shout back, I am love. Today I claim joy is mine. I no longer choose to live the illusion of pain. I choose life and peace. I am love. And as I'm filled with this recognition, I will touch you with radiant joy. Your path is sacred, and your choices are mine. Today I will see you without judgment, for I will not judge myself. Love asks only that I observe the world I've created, and then choose whether or not this is how I want to learn about love. There is no time in eternity. This moment is all I have. In the past, I chose to learn through pain, but the past is meaningless. It does not hold me in its grasp. Today, I choose to learn love's lessons with joy. And with that choice, our hearts will truly meet, and we'll remember we're traveling home together. We're all one in love. I felt better. I hadn't read A Course in Miracles and taken all those do-it-yourself psychotherapy experiential weekends for nothing. Best of all, I'd taken my power back. I no longer felt hooked. In fact, I didn't need him to feel like a goddess. I could inhale white light, exhale ecstasy all by myself, and it was just as good without him. I was radiant, joyful, exuberantly blissful. The man seemed puzzled and suddenly became remarkably affectionate. I was loving, but no longer chose to sleep in his bed. I would never beg for his love again. I even stopped looking to the man for approval. He must have suspected something was up when I stopped singing "Row, row, row your boat." Or maybe it was because he couldn't find me to throw me back in. He peered into the depths and saw me flash by, free as a fish. In a splash, he must have remembered, "Don't let them get away if you can help it." What to do? The man wrote a tiny book for me by hand. I had never received a love letter, let alone a book. My body contains the fire of love, and with it I spark the flame within your heart. For I am the king of emotions, all clothed in peace. With purity of heart, I descend the throne of the mind to offer you my true love. Feel the infinite variety and forms of divine love, and be boiling over in joy's delight of orgasmic ecstasy. You are the star of love shining ever so brightly, perfect expressed radiance. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. There is no going backwards to a time when we were not lovers. You shine a light so bright into the depths of being that nothing lies hidden in the secrets of divine time. As king of being the perspective of our love, my actions of ecstasy might be the power of life, just being me. So pass my love to the queen who be, the fire of cosmic ecstasy, the creator, the union of all, the one who transcends all imaginable love. And so we must part our perfect unity for all the lovers of eternity, and be our divine selves of I am love, in love, as love, for love, as the lovers we are. Wow! I could hardly believe my eyes. What a man! What a spiritual stud! I had no idea he had this kind of poetry lurking in his soul. He had seemed so mild-mannered, Clark Kent of the bedroom. He had always waited for me to approach him in matters of intimacy, and though I swam by, wiggling my tail, nothing seemed to stir his passion. He hadn't made love with me in weeks. I thought maybe he wasn't in love with me. Maybe I wasn't his ideal woman. But after reading his little book, I could hardly believe that I had sparked such unbridled passion in the man. Immediately, I penned a response. Touched by the king of fire, the ruler of my dreams. You are pure essence, lord of the mind, unconditioned, transcendental. But it is through me that you will feel your own lightning touch, charging through Earth's dark womb, sparking electrical webs of inner light encircling all. I am not the woman of your dreams, for I am the destroyer of dreams and illusions. I am the Tao. You cannot know me through your senses as you have known other women, or through the library of your mind. I am the unseen, the unspeakable, the unknowable, the untouchable, the all, the nothing, the everything, the silent song singing in your heart. Why look to dreams when I am here beside you, holding all visions of the divine? I am the journey beyond form into the formless mind of the Creator. I thought my writing was pretty darn poetic. Surely this would spark his imagination, maybe even more. I bathed, shaved, put on some deodorant, and even brushed my teeth. I had visions of the mad, passionate lovemaking he had described in the little book he'd given me. Quote, "So learn to completely give oneself through sex," and especially that part about boiling over in cosmic, orgasmic ecstasy. My radiator was ready to overheat. Merrily, merrily, I paddled into the cave and gave my poem to the man. Unfortunately, I'd forgotten the catch and release theory behind the Tao of sport fishing. His response was akin to the dead fish handshake. Puzzled, I said, "Don't you want to make love?" "No, we're meditating," said he. "Well, do you think you'll want to make love after the meditation?" "I don't know, I'm in this moment," he said. "Well, what was that little book you gave me all about?" With a blank look, he shrugged his shoulders and said, I'd have to look at it. I don't remember what I wrote." "You wrote it yesterday," I said. I then watched as the man, clad in armor, mounted his high horse. Patience. The reins of meaning were slipping away. I looked up and said, "Was that book about me?" There was a hollow, muffled, echoing sound until he flipped up the visor on his helmet. "Was the book about you?" he repeated. Apparently, the implication had not occurred to him until that very moment. Incredulously, he said, "Well, I wasn't thinking about anyone else at the time. I guess it must have been about you." Note: without revealing the identity of the man, it's noteworthy to mention that he's a Virgo dragon. The following quote should provide some insight. "Of course, this person is constantly pursued by the opposite gender because he will reek of sex appeal and mystique. Unfortunately, you are welcome but don't linger is the Virgo dragon motto. In short, there is much to admire, but not all that much to hug." The New Astrology. You guess it must have been about me? You know, somehow I have the feeling I'm not your ideal woman. "Oh," he said matter-of-factly, "you're not." "Well, what is your ideal woman like?" At first he hesitated. He didn't want to seem unevolved, but finally he said, "She's small, petite, and graceful." "Ah, I see," I replied. I had a lot of experience with small, petite, and graceful. I'd spent 2 years working for topless dancers in, believe it or not, Utah, a suburb of Salt Lake City. Most people in Utah don't know that there are nude dancing establishments. In this neck of the woods, there is a fundamental belief in legislating morality. In an attempt to discourage total nudity, the city government will not allow alcoholic consumption, hence the term juice bar. It's interesting to note that if an 18-year-old wants to become an exotic dancer, she can't dance in a topless bar because they serve alcohol. However, she can dance totally nude at a juice bar for 3 years until she's old enough to dance topless. I was a backstage massage therapist and resident psychic to the strippers. I watched as many lovely, small, petite, graceful women had complete meltdowns. In tears, these women would enter the dressing room crying, "I'm so fat, I'm ugly, they hate me, wah!" I had the tendency to pull these young women aside with a small suggestion. If you're really going to base your self-esteem on any one group of men, is this group really your first choice? Before I knew it, I had developed a bit of a backstage ministry. Inspired, I offered a class on abundance. I began by saying, if you want to make money, you've got to stop seeing the customer as the enemy. A youngster with perky breasts grinned and said, "Fine, why don't you come show us?" Despite the fact I was 37 and old enough to be this girl's mother, I was never one to walk away from a dare. In my early 20s, I weighed over 200 pounds. I lost weight, then topped the scales again, giving birth to my 2 children. Though I finally lost weight, I wasn't exactly Barbie in the Bahamas. The idea of naked in public did not thrill me, but a dare was a dare. So I hoisted my breasts up and said, "Okay, fine." Of course, I didn't want to be just any old stripper, so I approached the manager and said, "How would you like to have Utah's first cabaret-singing topless dancer?" He said, "Go for it." I hoped my singing voice would make up for my hips and thighs. On opening night, I waited backstage, my heart pounding. A small petite one said, "Are you nervous?" I nodded. "Don't worry," said the girl, "because when you get on stage, you're going to have a real feeling of power." Having studied psychology, I knew an interesting statistic. It's estimated that 90 to 95% of exotic dancers have been sexually abused. So here was a group of women who had been powerless with men, trying to get their power back. For my debut, in honor of all those women, I did a slightly revised version of the song, Crazy. And I walked on stage topless, getting dressed. Crazy, crazy for feeling so lonely. And I buttoned my buttons. I'm crazy, crazy for feeling so blue. And I put on my stockings. I knew you'd love me as long as you wanted. And someday you'd leave me for somebody new. I put on my shoes. Worry, why should I let myself worry? The right shoe and then the left. Wondering, what in the world did I do? And I put up my hair. Crazy for thinking that my love could hold you. And I put on my gloves. I'm crazy for trying, crazy for crying, and I'm crazy for loving you. You know, if you treated me right, this dress would be off instead of on tonight. But I have read Codependent No More, and I am no longer dysfunctional. I have also read 10 Stupid Things Women Do to Mess Up Their Lives, and I'm no longer doing stupid attraction, stupid expectation, stupid devotion, or stupid passion. Worry, why should I let myself worry? And I took off the gloves, wondering, what in the world did I do? And I unbuttoned the dress. Crazy for thinking that my love could save you. I let down my hair. I'm crazy for trying, crazy for crying, and I'm crazy for choosing you. I took off the dress, threw it over my shoulder, and said, "Just remember what you could have had," as I walked off stage. I own a second-hand furniture store, and I think my prices are fair. That is until this real cheap guy came in one day, saw this chair he wanted to buy but wouldn't, claimed the price was too high. So I looked him straight in the eye, and this was my reply. If I can't sell it, I'm gonna sit down on it. Why should I give it away? Now, darling, if you want it, you gotta buy it, and I mean just what I say. Now how'd you like to find this waiting home every night? Only been used once or twice and it's still nice and tight, wow. But if I can't sell it, I'm gonna keep sitting on it. Why should I give it away? Now you can't find a better pair of legs in town, and a back like this not for miles around. And that is why, if I can't sell it, I will recline upon it. I don't see the need to give it away, because it's made for comfort, built for wear and tear. Where else you gonna find such an easy chair? But if I can't sell it, I'm going to remain seated upon it. I ain't about to give it away. Oh, because it's lush and plush, slick and sleek. Darling, a high-class piece like this at any price is cheap. So if I can't sell it, I'm going to remain seated upon it. I don't see the need to give it away. Now look at this nice bottom. Ain't it easy on the eye? Made to accommodate any shape or size. But if I can't sell it, I'm gonna sit down on it. I ain't about to give it away. You know, I have really had my fill of folks coming around with their hands stuck out, wanting something, not wanting to give nothing back. Now, if you want this, put your hand in your stash and give me some cash. If you want something for free, go to the Salvation Army, don't come to me. No, this ain't St. Vincent de Paul's place, this is my place. Read my lips, no free trips. I walked off stage with over $100. In my uniform, thigh-high boots with 4-inch heels, I was over 6 feet tall. I was the Nordic version of Venus de Milo, finally recognized for the goddess I was. Though I had none of the classic qualifications for being a successful dancer, I made more money on that one set than all the ones who were small, petite, and silicone enhanced. Memories, how men pay to see them show for a mere $3,000. You can't even see them grow. Can it be that yesterday my cup size was an A? Now I'm a double D. The difference you can see. So thanks for the memories. The boobies that you bought have stayed so nice and taut. While floating on the sea of life, they bounce just like a yacht. Oh, thanks for the memories. Thanks for the memories. My breasts are doing fine. In fact, they look divine. I hope there's no remorse after implants we divorced. But thanks for the memories. Thanks for the memories. They cost $3,000. I know that really sucks. I finally date the hunky guys instead of measly schmucks. Oh, thanks for the memories.